Chapter 56. I got you, you son of a bitch. Chongmyung smiled as he got up. The man tried to retrieve his wrist from Chongmyung's grasp, but was unable to free himself from the firm grip. You. The man quickly raised his other hand to strike Chongmyung, but at that moment, the door burst open wide and the room lit up. It was Hwang Jong-gi. Tuck, tuck, tuck. He walked in with a very stiff face and spoke with a heavy voice. What are you doing here, General Manager? Audiobook, the general head of the Eunha branch, looked back in shock as Chongmyung held him in place. Young master, I am asking you, what are you doing here? Audiobook's expression contorted. I just wanted to check the condition of the young Tao. Chongmyung interrupted and continued to answer for the general. Ah, you wanted to check my condition and kill me. Chongmyung waved the hand he was holding. You've misunderstood. Misunderstood? I like misunderstandings too. Chongmyung jumped to his feet. Audiobook stared blankly at Chongmyung with wide eyes. It was clearly a serious injury. That must have been a misunderstanding. I was fine from the beginning. You were unconscious. Oh, I haven't been sleeping well recently, so I just happened to be overdue for a nap. Audiobook gnashed his teeth. You deceived me. You shouldn't say such a thing. You need to insist that it was a misunderstanding as much as possible. If you say things like that, then everyone will think you were up to something. You! He struck Chongmyung with his left hand. However, Chongmyung neatly avoided his attack, released his other hand, and jumped off the bed. Without looking back, he walked over to Hwang Jong-gi. Look, didn't I tell you he would come out? Hwang Jong-gi nodded with heavy eyes. I didn't believe what you said, but I have nothing to say after seeing this. Of all things, I never expected the general head, whom I believed in the most, would act like this. Hwang Jong-gi shot a soul-freezing glare at Audiobook. Meeting his gaze, Audiobook knew that no excuses would work. He stared at Chongmyung with a stiff face. How did you come to doubt me? I didn't. What? Chongmyung shrugged his shoulders. I didn't know who the hell the wrongdoer was. You must know I've only been here for a few days. I just assumed the culprit would come to kill Master Hwang's savior if he thought I was injured and in need of recovery. What if I hadn't come? You didn't have a choice. Chongmyung smiled. It's hard to kill the first time, but the second time comes much easier. Plus, if you kill me now, you could shift the blame onto the Jongnam sect. How would you willingly miss such an opportunity? So you planned this with the Jongnam sect? Chongmyung looked at him and said, Nope. Audiobook's distorted face suddenly went blank. You didn't? Yep, they just happened to pick a fight with me. I was thinking about how to solve this problem, but they came and created a nice situation. Audiobook bit his lip. Internal wounds. I don't know about anything else, but the physician said that you were severely injured. If I couldn't even deceive a normal physician, I wouldn't have bothered planning this thing. You keep asking such obvious questions. Chongmyung shrugged his shoulders. You sure have a lot of questions, but I have no obligation to solve your curiosity. What's important is that you fell into the trap and I found the man who tried to kill Master Hwang. In the blink of an eye, Audiobook looked at Hwang Jong-gi. Young master, surely you don't believe in that little child, right? Is there a reason for me not to believe him? Aren't you normally the most rational one? Isn't there something more important than what the child is saying? More important? The man nodded and continued. Yes, just because I tried to harm this child, that isn't proof that I tried to hurt the master. Why would I do such a thing? Think of how well the master had treated me all this time. Why would I bring him harm? Young master, isn't that why you never suspected me? Hwang Jong-gi frowned at it. It was an obvious excuse, but he wasn't wrong. Then why did you try to kill the young Taoist? Why did you hide the fact that you learned martial arts? That child was deceiving the young master. Even you were seduced by his words into thinking he could help your father. How can that child help him? Then you should have persuaded me. Would you have listened to me? Wouldn't you have disregarded me? It is easier to fool a man than it is to convince them when they've been fooled. Killing that child was the only way to bring you to your senses. In an instant, there was a murmur. Hwang Jong-gi turned his head. The servants, who had gathered there after the commotion began, were whispering amongst themselves. Their words couldn't be heard, but judging from their expressions, they seemed to think that Byung-ja-bok's reasoning wasn't wrong. That was how persuasive his words were. Are you done talking? However, Chungmyeong took a step forward. Byung-ja-bok stared at Chungmyeong. It is true that I tried to kill him, but I never tried to hurt the master. You have to— Ah! Chungmyeong waved his hand and cut off the ongoing speech. Enough, enough. I don't want to hear the reason, and I don't want to hear excuses. What? I'll just have to beat him. Before anyone could react, Chungmyeong rushed towards Byung-ja-bok. Aiming for Byung-ja-bok's head, he stretched out his hand. Chungmyeong's hand began to emit a sharp and intense light as it rang with a shrill slicing sound. Byung-ja-bok, who could sense the power within the strike, moved to counter the assault. Kwang! Both hands crossed as Chungmyeong retreated. Now, attention please. He casually lifted his arm. That... Everyone saw the outstretched hand and doubted their eyes. The hand which had been hit clearly turned black. Then slowly, Chungmyeong's entire wrist turned red. Chungmyeong began to speak as the onlookers stared aghast, waiting to hear what he had to say with bated breath. Demon hand! Chungmyeong waved his hand to make sure they were all looking at him. Normal people cannot withstand a single hit, and their entire body turns red as they slowly die. Of course, this man isn't very proficient, but even at his level, he can kill people. Especially if the opponent is an old man who never once trained in martial arts. It would be even easier than eating a piece of rice cake. While Byung-ja-bok was desperately struggling to organize his thoughts and plot some way out of the situation, Chungmyeong said, Of course, if you can pinpoint another person who frequently has close contact with Master Hwang and is able to infuse him with demonic ki, then feel free to name him. A decisive blow. Anger surged in the eyes of those who witnessed these events. Who would continue to trust this man who shamelessly betrayed their master? The hand Chungmyeong was showing had similar symptoms to what Master Hwang's entire body was like. You, a bastard who doesn't even appreciate the grace shown to you. How dare you try to assassinate our master and then act so shamelessly? I won't calm down even after I beat him to death. As everyone's mood changed, Hwang Jong-gi no longer hesitated. Capture him! At his enraged voice, everyone went silent. Right now, subdue that man. If he resists, kill him. At his command, the servants rushed into the room. Byung-ja-bok, who was tense, decided to fight. Those who entered the room were swept away by the power of Byung-ja-bok. Damn it, it was almost over. He looked at Chungmyeong with venomous disgust. If it wasn't for that little brat. Who are you calling a brat? Chungmyeong pursed his lips. As he was not originally little, nor a brat, he hated being called that. A little while more, and you would have been done. If I had known this would happen, I would have killed you right away. If you hadn't planted those thoughts into that stupid young master. Ah! Chungmyeong waved his hand. Well, of course, you must have something to say. But let's talk about it later. For now, let's finish this quickly. I am a bit sleepy since I was rudely woken up from a nice nap. What? Byung-ja-bok exploded. You arrogant brat. I don't know how you knew, but do you think you can defeat me with your pathetic martial arts? You? Defeat me? No. Huh? Why would I bother? There are other people here to do that. There. Chungmyeong pointed to someone behind him. Everyone's eyes shifted to where Chungmyeong pointed. Me? Lee Song-baek, who was staring blankly at this perplexing situation from behind, pointed to himself. Oh, the youngest here had come to subdue the bad man. Please take care of yourself. Oh, wait, me? Who else? Chungmyeong's eyes were wide open as he asked, and Lee Song-baek quickly understood the situation. Looking back, since all the disciples were dragged back to the sect, he was the only one here. Why me? At that moment, Lee Songbek felt it was unfair. However, Chongmyung gestured somewhere with his chin. Lee Songbek looked and saw Hwang Jung-gi staring at him. All right, a chance to rectify his mistake. Looking back, it no longer seemed like what happened to Chongmyung was a mistake. But that didn't matter now. The enemy will be dealt by the sword of the Jongnam sect. As Lee Jongbek drew his sword and rushed forward, Chongmyung clapped his hands and cleared the way. Wow, such heroism! He wanted to quickly take the man down, but Lee Songbek had appeared behind him, so he offered him the opportunity. Leaving the battle between the two men, Chongmyung approached Hwang Jung-gi. One matter has been resolved. It isn't over yet. He'll capture him soon enough. He is still a famous disciple from the sect. There's no way he'll be defeated by someone who hasn't even properly mastered the martial arts. Not properly mastered. He definitely injured your hand. Chongmyung showed the hand to Hwang Jung-gi. His hand, which was black, first turned white and then red. I didn't lie. It is true that he learned the demon hand. I just exaggerated a bit to show what happens when he uses it on one person for a long time. Hwang Jung-gi let loose a deep sigh. Are you really a taoist? Of course. The greatest and most experienced master in the world at that. Don't believe me? It's the truth.